Hello, and welcome to my channel. I'm Cindy from DIYBeautify.com, and I am just passionate about sharing thrifty home decor ideas with you guys, whether it's DIY projects like room makeovers or painted furniture, but I also love crafts, the smaller little things that you can finish in a day or two, and that's what we're going to do today. In fact, I have been waiting to make this video for you, and I just I've been busy decorating my house and all the things, but today we're going to make ticking striped candy canes. In fact, you don't have to do ticking striped. You could do gingham, or you could do just chunky white. These started off as, I want to say Dollar Tree, but they weren't. Where did my sample go? The Dollar Tree does carry these in a package of 6. They're just a plastic candy cane, but I have not been able to find any in my area this year. So I ended up purchasing a package of, I want to say 30. It was either 24 or 30 off of Amazon for a really good price, like $8. And I've turned them all into ticking striped and gingham striped and just fluffy candy canes. And that's what I'm going to show you how to do today. It's fast and easy. Really, you need 4 supplies. You're going to need to find the candy canes. So if you can't find them at your Dollar Tree either, I will put a link to the ones I found on Amazon below in the description. And before we get any further into this post or into this project, please take a minute and hit that subscribe button so you're following me, and that way you don't miss anything that I share. So you're going to need your plastic candy canes. Then you're going to need something fluffy. I made these, or I should say my first batch of these candy canes, I was trying to keep it as absolutely inexpensive as possible. And so as you can see, let me just show you the before and the after. There's quite a difference in the thickness of these candy canes, and it's not coming from the fabric. The fabric itself is fairly thin. So the trick to getting these chunky candy canes is to use something that's fluffy or chunky, and you can use whatever you want. I ended up trying a couple different things, and I'm going to tell you what I used. But if you have an old fleece sweater or blanket that you're not using anymore, it's headed to Goodwill, go ahead and cut it up and use it on this project. So you're going to need the fluffy first layer. Then you're going to need either fabric, or honestly, you could buy ticking stripe ribbon. I really like this red one. It comes in a couple of different widths, and I did buy this off Amazon. But if you're trying to keep it really budget friendly, then fabric is the way to go. And again, I bought my red ticking stripe fabric from Amazon. I'll put a link below in the description. Excuse me. And you're going to need your hot glue. And that's it. Oh, and scissors. Okay. So those don't really count as, craft supplies. They're like basic tools. So the very first batch that I made, I'm trying to tell you this and I keep getting distracted. I used, I think it was a polyester tree skirt from the Dollar Tree. It comes in just a little package, it's $1.25 now, and it does have glitter on it, but it's white. It's white and it's kind of fluffy, and I used those for about 12 of the candy canes I made until I used it all up. And then I was like, what else can I use? What else do I have in my stash? And I remembered a package of this warm and natural cotton batting that I had purchased. I don't quilt, you guys, I barely sew, but this warm and natural batting is great for crafting. It gives like just a real soft, it can be primitive, it can be whatever you want. It gives that cozy feel to your crafts. Now, it's not that expensive. I got this entire, I think it's a twin size at Hobby Lobby for, I think it was $4.95, so very reasonable. And as you can see, there's still a lot of it left. So what I'm doing with this is cutting it into strips. And we're going to do the same thing with our fabric. And I found after doing it for a few times, I'm going to adjust my phone so you can see what I'm doing. I found that the best strip width was about 1 inch. So I'm just gonna go, you don't have to be precise with this at all. You just need something that is going to add that thick and chunky base coat to our ticking candy canes. So let me get this out of the way. Now let me grab some of my fabric, and when I'm crafting with fabric, I don't cut because it just takes forever. I just rip it, and that way you do get the perfectly frayed seam all the way down, rather than having to, I mean, sometimes if you cut it, you're not cutting correctly on the selvage all the way across. So again, these are about 1 inch. I'm just snipping the end with my scissors, and then there's going to be a bit of a noise. We're just going to tear it all the way to the end. Now, when you rip fabric like that, you're going to have a bunch of threads, but that is what's giving you the frayed edges. So I just run my hand down it and pull off any threads. You might have to do this a couple of times. You just want to get all those loose threads. Let me see, I think I have some more. Now, if you are somebody who likes really precise crafting, you may want to iron your strip so it's completely flat and you know your edges are all perfect. I don't bother with that. I'm just going to go through it with my fingers because it does tend to roll up a little bit when you tear your cotton fabric, okay? I'm just running my finger through it to flatten it a little bit and pull off any extra. You might be pulling these off the entire time we're making these candy canes, and trust me, that's totally fine. Okay, so I've got my strip of, and this is the length, I think this is 1 yard, so it's 1 yard long. This is gonna make probably 2 or 3 candy canes. It's enough for that. This strip, I would say, is about 30 inches, and I kind of found out by accident when I was making my ticking stripe candy canes that you're going to be stretching this as you go. Okay, so just bear with me. I'm going to show you how I do this. So I like to start on the top of the candy cane at the little loop here. Just make sure my hot glue is hot. Okay, and what we're going to do, you want to put your candy cane away from you with the little tip of it down. We're gonna glue the end of our batting about 1/2 inch or so at the end. Okay, so it's not actually sticking here. You can put a little dab of glue if you want it to, but I'm just doing it this way to kind of, you want to minimize bulk as you're working on this. So now I'm folding the top over, and this is honestly the trickiest part is the ends. You're gonna just want to mess around with it so that you get a flat, as flat as possible fold. Now we're gonna go around it right at that end and capture all that excess. Where did it go? There we go. Capture all that excess in the next couple of rolls that we make, or folds, or whatever you want to call them. And I am pulling this this batting. I'm pulling it because you want it to be tight. Okay, so once we get to about here, this is where honestly it gets really fast and easy. You're going to just hold it a little lower down, and you're just going to start, I don't even know how to describe this, you guys. I'm going around it and I'm twisting a little bit. And as you can see, the batting is actually rolling on me, which is great because it's giving me that chunky look with very little effort. And you might have a spot or two that's a little thicker then another one, and that is totally fine. Remember, these are kind of meant to look tattered looking and old. Oh dear, I don't think I'm gonna have enough. Shoot. Okay, well, we're gonna have to make do. Now, normally I would make sure my strip is long enough, and I'm actually surprised that this one isn't. I'm gonna give it just a little bit of glue. So if you run out of your base, your chunky stuff, just glue the end, but see how I glued it flat? Because when we start the next little bit, we're gonna go over this. All right, so I gotta cut some more. Where did I put that? Here we go. We are going to very quickly cut another strip. I just want the short ways this time because I don't need that much. We need so little. That's such a shame that it wasn't long enough. But oh well, it's honestly, it's not a big deal. All right, so there's my next strip. All right. Okay, well, I'm not happy with this. So I'm just going to work with it until I can fix it. All right, I'm going to cut off that part that I glued when we ran out of fabric, because I really don't want, you know, a huge chunk there. As you can see, it's a little bit chunkier here than it is here, but I mean, that was starting to look like it was 3 times the width. Okay. All right, so forget what I said about leaving that extra. We're just gonna take it all down, and then we're gonna put our pointed end on the glue, and this is where we're gonna start twisting again. Yeah, that's better. And you're gonna twist all the way to the end. All right. Now I do want to leave about an inch at the end. This time we're going to put some hot glue on the very end of the candy cane and fold our puffy fabric over. And then you just want to finish it off. All right, so a little bit of glue. And if you have any bare spots, you want to try to cover those up. But this is a very forgiving project. Now it is a little thicker there, but I think when we wrap our fabric around it, we're going to be able to minimize that. If you have, that was just like a part of a fold. I just cut that off. Okay, so now we have it just wrapped in batting. As you can see, here's another one I did that I've actually left because I really like how it looks. But to move on to making these ticking striped, we're going to basically follow the exact same process with the fabric. So I'm going to start at the end, and I'm going to put some glue on the part of my candy cane that is curved, right? You just have to figure out, I'm right-handed, and I find it's easier for me to hold it in my right hand when I'm getting started, and then I like to switch. All right, so we're just trying to make as flat a fold as possible at that end. Now, the trick with the ticking striped fabric is you want, if you look at a candy cane, the swirls that go down are all even, right? There isn't like a big gap. So as you can see, I've tried to keep it as even as possible. Now, when you've got a curve like that at the top, it's not going to be perfect. But I tend to, when I'm wrapping this, I'm pulling it quite tightly, because I'm not going to add any glue until I get back down to the end. And you are going to have to overlap this quite a bit. But what I love is those frayed ends. You know, they're visible, and it makes your candy cane just look tattered and a little bit vintage. So I'm trying to go in the same angle with my stripes on my fabric, all right? And I am doing it, I'm holding it quite tightly. And yeah, this wants to roll up on you because you're putting it so many directions. Just keep fixing it as you need to. And if you end up having a string like I do, that is perfectly fine. I'm gonna just pull it off and pull it off the other end. Meanwhile, I'm holding this very securely in my other hand. Okay, so we're near the end, and here's that chunky piece. So I'm gonna see if I can pull my fabric really tight to somewhat flatten that out so it's not so chunky. Now, I like to, roll it just past the end. Okay, so as you can see, there's what, about a little less than 1/4 inch. Cut your fabric, and now we're going to put glue on the very end of your candy cane. Don't get it on your fabric yet, just get it on the end of the fluffy stuff that we put on first. All right, and then we're going to fold the end down. And you're really just securing it, whatever makes sense to you, and giving it a bit of a twist. All right, now just like that, we've made a ticking stripe candy cane. And as you can see, I've got another string that wants to unravel. So believe it or not, you can almost pull this all the way off. It depends on how overlapped your stripes are. I had so much fun making these, you guys. And as you can see, I mean, I made a whole bunch, and I have a little tree downstairs in my kitchen that is covered in these kinds. Now, I don't have one up here, but if you're really into primitive decor and you want to make your candy cane look primitive, give me just a second to grab my cinnamon, and I'm going to show you what you can do. A jar of cinnamon spice from Dollar Tree. Just buy the cheapie. And I don't cook with this because after I craft with it, I pour what's left with what I catch. I have a paper towel here. I'm going to pour that back into the bottle. So you don't want to keep this in your kitchen and use it for food. All right, let me flip you around again just a touch. Okay, so if you want to make your candy canes look more primitive, all you do, you don't need coffee grunge or stain. You're just going to sprinkle some cinnamon over your candy cane. It's dry, the candy cane's dry, my hands are dry, and then I'm just going to rub that cinnamon into the candy cane. All right, now I'm going to flip it over and do the other side just like I did the first side. And you know, a lot of the excess is going to fall off, but this is a great way just to kind of grunge it up a little bit and make it look coffee stained or tea stained. Can you see the difference? Let me grab one of the other ones. See, this one's that bright white and red, and this one looks a little more beige and red. So that is a trick that is really fun to do as well. And I think I did about half my candy canes with that primitive style because I've just really been enjoying the primitive decor lately. And it just adds such a warmy, welcoming look to your home. So, you know, when you're making these and you're shopping for your fabrics, don't be too concerned about how bright your fabric is. For instance, this red and white gingham, you know, it's very, very bright, but I could do the same thing with the cinnamon to tone down the red and give it more of a primitive look. I'm going to show you how I'm decorating with these at the end of this video, but please let me know in the comments if you're inspired by these and if you're going to make some of your own ticking stripe candy canes. I was just thinking before I say goodbye, I want to share a couple more tips with you guys about some of the products that I used in today's video. So these candy canes, ticking, gingham, you know what would be great? Red homespun. I didn't have any on hand when I made them, but oh my goodness, if you love primitive and vintage crafts, this red homespun already has that look to it, so how easy would it be to wrap this around your candy cane? I don't know if you can see back here, I made some DIY spools just out of a dowel and a couple of those wood wheels, and I wrapped them in homespun. But the other tip I wanted to give you was related to the warm and natural batting that I used. If you're wondering what else you can make, like I told you I craft with it, and you might be like, well, what on earth? I made a whole bunch of little mittens, and you can kind of think of it as felt, like craft felt, only it's going to be softer. So if you would like this mitten tutorial, I have it, actually I have a ton of mittens on my little tree here. Let me show you another one that I made. Isn't that cute? So I'm sharing the tutorial with pictures over on my blog at DIYbeautify.com, and you can find, there's another little mitten with a fur trim. You can find all these crafts over there. Okay, so just a couple extra tips. I hope that was helpful.